All right, and we are live. Welcome to Clubhouse, everybody. We meet here every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, and today we are going to start off. It's not summer just yet, but it's getting really close. We're going to start off with a topic that we think a lot of people have difficulty with. Not only women, I think men have trouble with this too, but we're going to talk about body image today as it relates to summer. So stay tuned for that. If you have any questions, you can either join our Clubhouse. I've got a link in the chat, not the chat, a link in the description, or you can pop up a question in the chat and we can see it on our screen here. But feel free to ask us any questions, make any statements, just talk with us. So body image. What comes to mind when you first think body image?
Is there anyone who really is comfortable with their body image?
Evidently, they're all over social media. They're always taking pictures of themselves on TikTok.
Yeah,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
it is.
But then I think that's a very small percentage of the population. I think it's very, very normal for people to have all types of cognitive distortions about their body image. I hadn't thought about this till just a moment ago, but I got to go to the Arnold Classic years ago, the big Arnold Schwarzenegger sponsored bodybuilding show. It's one of the biggest in the world.
Wow.
And there is a world famous bodybuilder there. By the way, he's since passed away, so I won't call his name, bless his heart. And he, at the time, I think probably weighed close, I don't know, maybe 290. And he was probably 2 or 3% body fat.
Wow.
And I remember he was doing a photo shoot, and I was there with one of the vendors. I got to go with one of the suntan bed vendors, and those things will cause cancer, by the way. And this huge bodybuilder said to me, and he used the F word, F-E-E-L. He said, "Oh, I don't know, man. I just feel small today." And, of course, I'm joking. I said, well, that's only because you're standing beside me. When you're not standing beside me, you'll actually appear bigger to the audience. He didn't get the joke. He didn't think it was funny, maybe. But it was so weird that somebody at the height of the bodybuilding profession still had distorted thoughts about their body, that they weren't big enough. And you can call that all kinds of things. You can call it, I think the term is body dysmorphia. I'm not big on labels. I think that labels blur the picture, muddy the water. And I think that we should focus in on when you're talking about I don't look good, to who and who's paying attention. Mm-hmm. And do they even notice? I mean, do you really notice people on the beach?
No, I don't really pay that much attention. I'm just there to have fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even go to the beach myself much, but when I have gone, I don't know. I don't really. I notice the water. That's the biggest thing on the beach. I'm sure if a whale swam up, I'd notice the whale. But I even love people watching. But when I see people, I don't really personally judge. Shape. It's just people,
Right.
and people comes in all kinds of shapes. But why do you think we're so much more critical for ourselves instead of others?
Well, we're with ourselves 24/7, and sometimes I think that can be a challenge, because if you don't have accurate thoughts about yourself and you're constantly with yourself, that's the voice you're hearing the most often. So if you get an inaccurate view about maybe the way you look, and let's take for summer, the way you look in a swimsuit, and you're like, well, I think this looks really good, and then you get it home and you try it on again and you really think about it and you're like, but what if I run into somebody I know? And it's like, it keeps you from doing things that are fun, that are great to get out with friends. But I think a lot of it has to do with the way that we perceive ourselves. Is we're with ourselves all the time.
Yeah, I think it's I think there's a couple things there. One is what I would call the scratch and dent phenomenon, that you're going to notice scratches and dents in your vehicle so much more readily than other people. And I think for our bodies, we have a scratch and dent phenomenon. And we notice things, we think our nose is too big and our ears are too big, and we just notice every little blemish. And one of my favorite cranky psychologists, Albert Ellis, had the banana experiment. And I challenge you people to do that. Have any of you guys ever done the banana experiment or even something like it, where you do something odd just to see if anybody notices. And most people don't notice. Albert Ellis would challenge his patients to tie a string to a banana, go to a public setting and drag the banana and just see how many people noticed. And people don't. People just don't notice. I've been in New York and all kinds of huge cities, and people doing all kinds of weird things, and people just don't notice. But we kind of hyper focus on every little blemish. I think teenagers have a huge problem with this when it comes to, gosh, I've got that one little piece of acne. Gosh, guys, I'm in my middle ages here. Some might say beyond my middle ages, and I actually have acne on my forehead. And but what does that mean? I think it means I have pores that are stopped up. It doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm talking about. It doesn't mean that I'm ugly. Am I going to be on the cover of GQ? I'm sure I won't. Actually, I guess I could paste my picture to the front of it, cut my head out, and put it on Tom Cruise's body or something. But it really gets down to what you're deciding to think about other people's thinking, which was the point of the Albert Ellis, which you can Google, banana experiment. And it's called mind reading plus catastrophizing. I know what they're going to think. It's going to be awful. And fortune telling, because it's in the future, you know, what they will think. And if you took a poll, I mean, it'd be a great research project is to, put me out on the beach and take a poll, or put Heather on the beach and take a poll and say, hey, Heather's been here for an hour. How many have noticed her? Nobody. But why? Because people are so into themselves. They don't have time to notice you because they're so into themselves.
I think there's another side to it too. I think a lot of people aren't satisfied with their own bodies too because of what they see in the media, what you see, what's put out there.
Well, but break
Is it
that down though,
realistic?
because that's too much of a shortcut between I see something in the media, I'm not happy with myself, and I think we're missing a huge piece of the puzzle, and that is based on what I see in the media, what am I deciding to think about myself? What do you guys, I mean, what difference does the media make? What are you deciding to tell yourself?
I don't look good based on what I see. I don't.
So in other words, you're
I don't
saying
match
the
up.
media represents what looks, quote, good. I'm not that, therefore I don't look good.
Which the funny thing is, when I've had this conversation with clients before, and what I tell them is, the people in the media on like magazines and stuff, they don't even look like that.
No, they don't.
There's a lot of Photoshop that goes into it. It's like there is no such thing as the perfect look or the perfect body. And coming back to beauty, I am a very strong believer that beauty isn't just what you look like. Beauty is who you are and how you treat other people and how you talk to other people. So even if it doesn't fit, quote, society standards, whoever came up with that doesn't mean that you're not a beautiful person.
It's funny you should say that. I remember one of my internship rotations. There was a colleague that worked there, and why she would tell me this, I have no idea. But she told me that our other colleague was better looking than I was, which I think that was true. That's not even my argument. I think he was too. He's a handsome guy. But that in many ways I was better looking than him because of my personality.
Oh,
I thought, gosh, is that a compliment? That's such a weird thing to hear somebody say. But it really is in the eye of the beholder, and you're the main beholder. We need to decide what to think about ourselves and to find value in that instead of farming that out to everybody else. I mean, are you going to walk down the street and take a poll? I mean, why not look at yourself and find value in that? Now, that's not to say that I think we should bathe and brush our hair and brush our teeth and make sure that we don't have roast beef stuck between our teeth. Sure, put your best face forward and your best foot forward. But then, I don't know, I think that we get into thinking that we are not safe somehow if we don't look like someone else. And I think that there's some kind of neuroscience-y reasons behind that that we can talk about here toward the end of the show. What is beauty? How is it decided? Why do we think that this person is more pleasing to look at? Why does that matter? How do we? How does the brain calculate that? And there are some ways of looking at that, and some reasons for that we can talk about. But even those you have to put in perspective.
Yeah.
How do you help patients that you deal with who are really down on themselves based on how they look?
Well, kind of what I said earlier, we talk about what beauty actually is, but we also talk about, just because a lot of people get hung up on facial expressions, okay? This is a big thing.
Yes.
They think that if somebody has a certain facial expression, they're doing that mind reading and catastrophizing, that must mean that, I look off or something doesn't look right, or, they could just be thinking about, shoot, I left my straightener on at home. It probably has nothing to do with you, but they'll get caught up on, well, when I, went and asked my husband how I looked, he was looking at his phone, he looked up, he's like, oh yeah, that's good, and looked back down.
Oh,
Well, that doesn't
okay.
necessarily mean that he doesn't think that, you look beautiful. It could be something completely different.
Are you talking about people that know you, or people that don't know you, or both?
Both, actually.
Both
So,
people.
like, I'll have, have had a discussion about, they'll be walking through the grocery store, let's say, and they decided to try on, I'm just slightly making this up, but based on maybe some of my own experience. I'll base it off of some of my own experience with this in the past. Wearing a dress that maybe they had to really kind of talk themselves into wearing. Not that it was inappropriate or anything, it made them look, feminine, girly, all that kind of stuff. And they're walking through the store, and somebody kind of looks at them and has maybe like a squinty looking face or something, and they just assume, oh, see, I knew it. I knew I shouldn't have wore this today. That's the proof that I needed. And it has nothing to do with
Yeah,
that.
that's called mind reading. How do you know that's what they're thinking about? How do you
exactly.
know that they didn't just, I don't know, get a sour taste in their mouth, or they're constipated, or who knows what happened? A bee just stung them on the rear end. I mean, I think we're really engineered to really rapidly interpret what's going on with people's faces. My dad, my dad's passed away now. I really love and miss my dad, but my dad would say that. He would say, get that look off your face. And I always thought, gosh, I don't have a claymation face. I really can't. This is my face. I'm not sure what to do with it. And so why can't we just let people's faces be what they are? But we often take people's facial expressions personally, because we're told there are people that talk about reading faces, reading body language. You can't do that.
No.
Now, if somebody has a gun, that's different. That's not, if they're pointing at you, that's not a good thing. Duck for cover. But if as we've often said in the art lab, if body language and facial expression were all it's cracked up to be, we would not need American Sign Language. But we do need American Sign Language, because I guess my favorite go-to is, what body language or facial expression means I want a taco. Maybe it's this one. Well, no, you have to ask. And so it's best to stop trying to read faces, because humans just can't do that. Faces aren't made for that. Words are meant for that. Listen to my words, get up out my face.
Well, isn't it true, too, that if you've been telling yourself, like thinking like that you don't look good in that dress, or that you don't look good in what you're wearing, that your brain looks for reasons to confirm that?
It does.
And so even though the face, like, even if you weren't necessarily trying to mind read, it kind of leads you there because you're looking for that person that has that grunt.
Well, yeah, because the brain is like flypaper, and thoughts are like flies, and the more we focus in on one type of thinking, the more fly-based thoughts are going to stick to that part of our brain, and we're really going to just believe that that's what's going on, and the brain's going to create more of it. Yeah, it's just all more confirmation bias and underthinking, failure to consider other important aspects of the situation. Have you ever noticed that for the most part, kids, before they reach a certain age, don't really care what they look like?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You know, second or third graders. I don't remember really caring what I looked like until I was maybe in high school.
Yeah. I mean, because, like, you get the little kids who are also proud because they cut their own hair.
Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah, I've done that.
Sprigs everywhere.
Yeah,
And
it
you're
looks
just like,
great.
oh my gosh, what have you done? And they're just
Yeah.
like, look what I did.
or
It's
they like
Yeah.
colored their body in Sharpie all over
Yeah.
the place. Like, oh look,
Yeah.
Mom, I have a
Yeah.
eyeshadow, and it's Sharpie. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
I think
no.
I'm still that way to a certain extent. It really it seems to surprise the people that do cut my hair, which is just kind of an equal opportunity thing. I just go the place I can get in the quickest, and say, hey, you know, cut my hair, and they'll really dig into what about this and what about that. And my philosophy is no matter what you do to my hair, it has tended to always grow back.
Yeah.
There's no haircut so severe it's never grown back. And I don't know, I might just think it's interesting if they did something weird to it. I shaved my head one time. It wasn't a pretty thing. I haven't done that since. But I thought, what the heck? You know, you only live once. Why not see what it looks like? You guys try it. Shave your head. See what you think.
I think I'm gonna pass.
No, I'll
I
pass on
shaved
that.
half my
Pass.
head one time.
Oh, she did. Yeah, she
Yeah,
did.
you
shave
did.
part of
Wow.
it
Part
for a
of it.
while there. It actually was cute.
Yeah, I
she
liked
pulled
it.
it off well.
Yeah.
Got little designs drawn in it.
Well, I always had
Very
visions
cool.
I would look like Telly Savalas, you know, Kojak.
Ah.
Some people, some men can really pull it off,
The
and
Rock.
some men can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Rock. Yeah, he does
Vin
well.
Diesel
He does
pulls
well.
it
I
off
mean,
good.
he doesn't even look good with hair now because your brain is imprinted on him. You know,
Yeah. That's
not
true.
having hair. And here I did think that I'm put my phone. It's on airplane mode and it's still ringing. How is that possible? I pay for a
Technology.
cell phone signal and sometimes do not have one. And I put it on airplane mode, and AT&T is still ringing through the call. How's that even possible on airplane mode? I don't get it. Well, thank you guys for putting up with that. Let's talk about some quick neuroscience of beauty.
Yes.
We've talked about this a little bit before, but I'm not a sold out, you know, full believer in evolution, though there is some, of course, evolving that went on with humanity. But symmetry is what we know as beauty. And so if the left side of the head, the more symmetrical it is with the right side of the head, and the distance between left eyeball to left side of mouth, right eyeball, right side of mouth, is equivalent at a certain ratio, then we call that beauty. And the reason is that there is, and this is kind of a Plato thing, that Plato believed that there was everything in reality is just a shadow of perfection. For instance, there's somewhere a perfect cup and a perfect stick and a perfect spoon or whatever, and there's a maybe perfect human face. And the closer something, the more symmetrical it is, the more human it looks. The less symmetrical, the less human. And so it's just the brain loves to identify faces, and when it can more quickly identify a face as a human, we call that beauty, and that seems safe to us. And the less symmetrical, the less so, and that's where you get some people that have scarring or whatever. You might see other humans will be very biased against that because it's their brain working really hard to identify humanity. And of course, this is where bias and prejudice comes from also. When we see people who are a different color, different shape, different culture, different nationality or whatever. But that too can be put into perspective, and that too can be trained. And we need to develop a culture of humanity that I think, I don't know, maybe we redefine what beauty is. And I think the most beautiful you can ever be is just being you. There are probably people that look very much alike. There's all kinds of celebrity lookalikes. But for the most part, people are meant to look different. And that's a wonderful thing. I mean, how awful would it be, how scary it would be for everyone to look like me? Gosh, everyone you meet is just another replica of Dr. Heath. How horrible would that be? And so I'm meant to be me. You're meant to be you. And you can train your brain that that is perfectly normal, perfectly okay, perfectly safe. Now, does that mean you might not have somebody who points a finger or thinks or even speaks up about something regarding you or even tries to make fun of you? Well, of course, people are ignorant. What's ignorance? Ignorance is lack of knowledge. But you can put that in perspective too, because when someone acts that way, they're telling you nothing about you, and they're telling you more than they think they are about themselves. One of those things is healthy people do not make fun of or put down other people. A big waving banner that I'm less than a healthy person is when I belittle or put down or make fun of other people. You want to be a healthy person? Don't do that. Find value in all humans. What are some other things that we can help our listeners out with today in the next few minutes that we have left of our Clubhouse group?
Yeah, and actually we do have a comment real quick. William says, I shave my hair often, LOL.
It does save
great.
money on shampoo.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I've been
It makes it
tempted.
quick in the morning to brush your head because there's nothing there really to brush unless you just enjoy the tactile sensation of a brush on your bare head. It's quite stimulating.
Yeah.
Dries quicker too.
Yeah.
Yeah, only thing to rise your hair follicles. Thank you, William. I appreciate that comment. Other comments before we let our folks go today? Just got about a minute left, some things to wrap up. And how can you come to value yourself on the beach? How about this? How about focusing in on the moment and enjoying the moment?
Yes.
You have the sand between your toes, the sun on your face, the clouds floating through the sky. You have all of creation to fellowship with. Why focus on that one guy with that wrinkled up look on his face? You don't even know if he's thinking about you to begin with. Maybe, as we said earlier, he just has about a constipation or diarrhea. Leave him and his bowel situation alone and just enjoy your day.
Absolutely. Kind of going along those lines, if you're a mama and you've got a kid and you want to take your child to like a water park or something, and you're worried about, well, I can't, actually have fun with them and be out there. Why not? Share that moment with your child. It doesn't matter what other people think. Just because you're an adult doesn't mean you can't have fun.
The most beautiful people, or the people that you call the most beautiful on the planet, you can do an experiment. Look up who is the most beautiful person in the 1940s,
Yes.
and then look at a current picture. Everybody winds up in their facial features and their body not symmetrical. Whatever you call beauty now, fast forward, everybody loses that. So let's have a bigger definition of beauty. Let's expand our definition of beauty. It's more than facial and physical symmetry. As Sarah pointed out earlier, it goes much deeper than that. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back tonight for the question in question, the psychologically nutritious Jeopardy-style game show. That'll be at 7 o'clock Central, Memphis, Chicago time. Catch us next time, guys.
Bye.